welcome back everybody. Card number 2 for this card series that I'm doing. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. And it is quite serendipitous that it has been raining here on and off all weekend and I get to play with this card kit. So it's been fantastic. Let's jump right into the card. I am starting with some very soft gray cardstock. This is inexpensive cardstock that I got from AC Moore, pretty lightweight, but I'm starting off by using some distress ink and getting a cloudy, gloomy kind of background on here. It's fine for me that it didn't blend very well at all because I wasn't going for that. I was going for a very stormy looking sky. So it worked out perfect. Now, if you heard me in one of my previous videos, I had mentioned that you can use this stencil cutout for this technique right here to make the clouds. And one of my subscribers had mentioned doing it herself and it came out beautifully. So I'm glad that that worked out. And I absolutely love this technique. So one thing is when you're doing it, you want to try not to overlap the clouds. As you saw, they kind of crossed into one another. You want them to more fade out. But that's okay because I'm going to cover it in this project. But just being aware of that when you're doing it for yourself. So I used the stencil actually as a stencil. And I traced it out. I remember like we used to do when we were kids. And then I cut it out and I wanted a pop-up cloud for my project. So I did just that. And then I'm covering that again in some of that same distress ink. And I believe this distress ink is the Stormy ink, which is soups appropriate. So right here, what I'm going to do next is going to use my amazing glitter shimmer paste. And before I do that, I want to mask it off. And it looks like a hot mess right there, but that's okay because I want to make sure the rest of my projects gets protected. And so I am using my palette knife and I'm just putting that glimmer paste all through the stencil there. And this way we're going to have a beautiful, shiny rain coming through. You'll see in just a minute when we pull that off. But I love this stuff. It's so easy and so pretty. Just make sure you clean it off your stencil right away so that it doesn't ruin the product. Okay, and there it is, just looking shimmery and beautiful. Such a nice touch over that card. Now you're going to put it aside for a while, probably about 15-20 minutes, but it did warp it quite a bit because that cardstock was so thin, but I combat that a little bit by putting it on another piece of cardstock, you'll see. And again, I'm using this stencil. The stencil for this card is definitely the highlight. It's definitely being highlighted in multiple ways here. So right now I drew out my boots and I'm going to color them. And I did Spectrum Noir markers and I used a much darker color as you can see on the bottom and just blended it where they mixed. I kind of liked that look because I'm figuring this person is stamping through the rain. And so it's going to be a little bit more wet on the bottom. So that's the way it came out for me. And I didn't have to stay in the lines. How fun is that, right? No constraints. So I'm using some glossy accents here to make it look like they're actually rain boots. And so, you know, all rain boots are super shiny. And so that's what I'm doing there. And I'm going to let this dry for a long time. I think I put it aside for a few hours and come back and cut it out. But before I do that, 2 of the boots are going to be glittery. I can't resist. It's there. It's sticky glue. What sticks better to glue than glitter? And so there you have it. So here I am going to combat that warping, like I said. And so I'm putting this really strong score tape all over the back because I don't want it bowed anywhere. And so you'll see it's all completely just the tape is lined up. And so I'm going to place that on just a stronger piece of white cardstock. And that way I can get rid of that. So it's so pretty, that card front. I definitely didn't want to ruin it by it just kind of coming apart. And here I'm just stamping my sentiment, learn to dance in the rain. And so I'm going to heat emboss that, make it nice and shiny and raised up. And that cloud is going to pop up on our card. Using some Tombow adhesive here to place that onto a black mat. Again, the black mat was very thin cardstock, some cheap stuff I got from the store, which is fine because I'm just using it for layering. But I did want my cloud to pop up, so I had some extra fun foam laying around, and I just cut that same exact shape out of the fun foam, and that's going to lay behind. Now, if I'm mailing this card, that's a good thing to do, because sometimes when you mail stuff and it's not completely flattened behind, it will bend, or it just will warp in the mail. I don't know what they do at the post office, but I swear, I guess it runs through some sort of machine. I don't know. I've never worked there. So I used some really strong score tape again to put that fun foam on, and I used the really thin, I think it's the 1/8 of an inch score tape, placing that right above my raindrops. Now we're back to our boots, and we are going to cut those out. Now, if you'll notice my hand placement, I'm trying not to cover over that glossy accents at all. Unless I left this overnight, it's still making a little bit of marks, almost like when you paint your nails and you think they're dried 5 hours later, and yet you put a nail into it, and it's not. It's the same concept. And so right here I am outlining the boot with a Memento black marker, and that will just kind of make it pop more. So you don't have to suffer through me fussy cutting those all. I did them, and then this last part really made these boots pop. I used a Sakura gel pen, which if you don't have a set of those pens, you don't need them, but they're really cool because they come out like super shiny and it adds such pop to your projects. I really like them, and I think I got a set of 8 colors. I use the black the most though, so if you can only need to buy one, the black is awesome. So here I am putting on my boots. Now I had the bottom boot flat on the card, and then the top boot obviously is up with some dimensionals, and that just makes it look like this person's dancing in the rain. That was the whole objective here. I'm putting that on my card base as some Nina Solar White 80 pound, I believe. And then the inside of the card lost the footage, but you're about to see it. It was the same technique as the front I used on the inside, and I wanted to really add something fun to that card. And I hope you liked that. I thought that was so easy. It's such an easy technique, and it's such a wow technique. So please try it. So much fun. And that'll do it for card number 2. Again, I hope you had fun. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or any input or feedback. And don't forget to hit subscribe, because I have 4 more cards coming in this series alone. So I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Hopefully it's not as rainy where you are, but if it is, crack open your kit or any stamps you have and get to crafting. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.